We're still muted. Oh, let's start over. Oh, you guys need to mute. Okay, let's. Okay, you need to mute your computers. Then, yeah, okay. All right. I need to admit a couple people here. Wow, that was a big.
Well,
okay.
Didn't get too far.
Now we're going to restart this work session. Once the board is not muted, we are going to restart this. So welcome to the work session once again, and we will. It's a work session of the Board of Education for the Rhode Island Olivia Lake Lillian Independent School District, and we are going to talk about our steps going forward after the election. So. Mr. Branso, take it again.
Okay, we'll review what we just went over, and I guess I'll just summarize it so we can continue moving on. But the first one was do nothing, and I think what I'm hearing is that that's really not an option of the board. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but second item was to co-locate the facility with the hospital. The third was remodel and expand the Olivia site. 4 was consolidate with neighboring districts and any other things that you'd want to throw out at this point. So if not, we could go to item 2, I think.
Well, let's
because I'd like to comment.
Yeah, we can't because no one heard it.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So Tracy,
I'll just go back and kind of say what I said before was that I think that after talking to quite a few people after the election, I think that the majority of people do want something done. I don't think we really have an option to do nothing at this point. And also that, I feel like we've kind of been down the road of consolidating with our neighboring districts, we've talked to them, it seems that they're not interested at this time. So personally, I still think looking at a co-location with the hospital or something on this site in Olivia, to me, are probably the best options.
And I will rephrase a little bit of what I said, just through the work that we've done previously with the task force committee. We all can agree that there are some major chronic needs and that definitely correlate to the health and safety of our students, and obviously the educational impacts that we need to do something. And through other conversations that I've had since the referendum too, I think there have been a lot of talk on, what can we discuss what we can do to this site. We got, new parking lot out there, our existing football field is out there. We've got a pool down the hall. I think people would be very interested in hearing more about what options we could do with this existing site as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree. Items B and C would be, I guess, the top two on my list for discussion purposes.
I'd like to comment. I agree that A, do nothing is pretty much out of the question. I feel like we definitely have to do something. I also feel that the way the vote went and how much it went down by almost 91%, I think the communities have spoken very well by feeling like they haven't been heard. And I feel like we need to open that door of visiting with the neighboring districts again, because that's been a huge dialogue, conversation I've had with several people, that they want to do that, not just a couple people going and visiting, but a group of people sitting down and collaborating and coming up with ideas, getting everything out on the table. And then if we exhaust that again, then move on to something else. But they want to, just for the whole tax base, to give us the best options available for all the students, several towns wide. I think we can come up with probably the best buildings if we're gonna end up that way. And I do feel that we should not throw out the remodel and expand either. So I feel we have a lot to discuss yet and go back to the drawing board, because that's what people are asking, is they want us to go back to the drawing board and revisit some of this stuff, and maybe establish some committees too with the community members.
Teresa, I think you also just brought up a good point, is that what does the community want?
Right.
What does the district want?
And my next biggest question is the time frame and everything. And if we start over, what does that mean? Does that mean going back to where we were 2 years ago, or we have immediate needs, we have chronic needs, and what time frame are we looking at to best meet the needs of our students?
Right,
and
because if
staff?
we're looking at, what going back, starting over, having those conversations again, I feel like that could be a long process.
And I totally agree with that. And I feel like along with that, then maybe we need to look at our facilities. Maybe we need to do emergency levy just for operational needs and maintenance needs for short term while we're looking at the bigger picture, but do something to get us by for the safety of the kids, for the well-being of what we have right here, because no matter what we do, whether obviously the communities don't want us to go forward with what we had, but it's gonna be 2 to 3 years out no matter what, maybe even 4, even if that new building comes to fruition. But until then, we can't wait 3 to 4 years and do nothing to these buildings.
Right.
So I think as far as like patience money, if we would do an emergency operational levy, get some monies in here to fix up the things that have to get fixed up to buy us time.
I would
That
say
would be a
maintenance
bond.
levy,
That
just
would
a
be-
maintenance.
That would be a-
That's a
that would be a-
referendum, that's
that
not a
would be-
levy.
Yeah, that's
That would be a bond, right?
An operation I thought operations was a levy.
Operation.
Building-
Operation.
building-
Building is your bond.
Building is a bond, but repairs, isn't that part of operations?
That would be part of an excess levy,
Okay,
which
so that would be
we
a-
Which
did
we
years
just
ago.
passed, we just
Right.
passed, and can you go back for that again?
And,
Well,
You
now
can-
that
You can ask for,
another one.
you can ask for an increase on it.
Yes.
But,
Yep.
okay, so so they consolidate with neighboring districts, so obviously we need to set up a meeting. And do you feel like it needs to be our board to their board? It's like, I'm talking BLHS, I don't know if we need to include others at this point, maybe just start with one more board.
Can I break up something? I was emailed and some other people were emailed a letter from GFW. And I made copies so we can all look at them. And then GFW is interested, their community members are interested in visiting with us. So
Right.
whether that,
But they're bored. That's who we need to speak to.
exactly, but
Right.
their community is reaching out also.
Yeah.
So, and just like our community wants to dialogue with neighboring districts, is something to think about, so.
Right, it's board to board though, so they're board. I think we need to start with boards, because that's who we are, that's who,
Well, and then we should visit with them.
right. Well, if they would like to, I guess, I would like to start with the LHS. We have had conversations with them, but I think if we need to get both boards together and we need to lay it all out on the table, let's get that on the books. Because I think the needs that we have can't wait for a long time. So
Well, I think we can do that along with that, don't you? Can't we like walk and chew gum at the same time? Can't we go ahead and get some committees to meet with some boards? Get that, but also at the same time, look at our,
I'm talking board to board though, I'm not talking committees, I guess, because that's who needs to meet with this, so.
Well,
It probably should start with the board. I
Right,
mean, there's no,
exactly.
yeah, I see no reason why we can't have committees for some of these things, but I would say something like that probably should be board.
But anyway, along with this letter, she also sent this Survey Monkey that they sent out. And I think we should really look at that, because if you want to really take to self-examine our own board and have the community do that, you should look at this Survey Monkey. I thought it was very interesting. You can do what you want, but I'm just passing that on so you can just see. And then I think that tells us as a board how we're doing. This will.
All right, any other thoughts on topic number 1?
And I think we'll be coming back to this, what we were just talking about in number 3 too, I think is what was one of the topics, but number 2 is looking at the co-located facility with the hospital. What would that look like? And so we've done a lot of work with that. And so there's some pointers there. Establish a time frame to complete, establish size, use, function of all specs, determine capital contributions, and determine operational functions, costs, and responsibilities. These are things that have come to us as far as questions. And
What I've heard with the whole correlation with the hospital is that people like the idea of, if you're gonna long-term think of consolidating with schools, is they like the idea of it being right off 212, not in the middle of any one town.
So you're talking if we were to go with someone else?
Period.
Right.
I mean, like, even if like at this point, BLH, excuse me, BLH, GFW, whomever says, we're not ready at this time, we still want to take our steps, our processes, then having it on a highway versus in the middle of any one town makes it a little easier.
But I do think that we need to utilize what we have here.
I'm just throwing out what I've heard.
Because this parking lot has been a huge deal. Every time you talk to somebody, it's like, well, you put in a $500,000 parking lot, you know, it's a negative thing out there. And when you put that kind of money into something, you want to surround it with something. And that's.
I'm just saying what I would.
No, and I understand, I get that, but I think a lot of people are frustrated because we've taken that money, the taxpayers' money now, and put it in the parking lot, we have a building out there, we've got a lot of things. And I think they're looking at it and saying, hey, let's just utilize, like you said, something right here. You know, where we're at right now. I mean, a hospital would be great if it's a for sure. But is it a for sure? We don't know if it's a for sure. And can you go on a what if?
What do you mean if it's a for sure?
Like, are you talking the wellness center?
Yeah, if you go, and furthermore, I think that's where a lot of the cost comes in. And well, not probably a lot, but a good portion, when you're talking land, buying land, and then you already have land, why would we want to go buy more land when we already have land? I mean, that's a huge expense.
And that's the whole reason why you try to widen your tax base too, if you don't end up doing the repairs and maintenance or remodel, That's why you try to do that, because that's where you're voted down. We can't afford it, and people have told us that at 91% of a failed referendum, they feel we can't afford it for this district, so that's why they want you to expand and look out and really make a big effort to put all the cards on the table and say, what's in the best interest of several towns? Maybe it means a different location even, and we have to be open-minded to that too, because even if a different location means we get a school, and it makes all the towns happy, and we can get a nice big school, we have to be open-minded to that.
Oh, I had a parent call me though concerned about the letter that was to the editor, and I never read it. She just said, I'm really scared about this, Jamie. I don't want to put my child who's got special needs on a bus all the way to Gibbon. She said, I will leave. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, I'm like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So she kind of gave me a lowdown on it. She goes, Hector, fine, but I'm not going to put my kid on. And I'm like, well, I mean, we rode snowmobile down there. It took us on a snowmobile, it took a long time. I know what it takes in a car. So I understand where she's coming from for that too. And I get, but we can't, the other thing we have to think about is we can't just have it in the middle of nowhere. I mean, they put a kibosh to that how many years ago? 3? They won't let you put a school in the middle of nowhere.
The Department of Ed you're talking about.
Yes.
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 I don't think
Department of Ed.
anybody wants to do that either, but that's why you dialogue with people and you brainstorm.
Right.
And so here's my thing. I mean, I know that I've talked to school board members there at BLH, and they're like, we want to keep doing what we're doing. So then what happens? Like, do we have to wait? I mean, how does that look for everybody else? Do we have to wait until they're ready to that point? Because they want to keep as BLH. I know their community members don't. I've talked to several of them. I mean, my husband's from there. I have friends over there. Some of them are like, we want to stay where we're at. We want to continue to do. A lot of them are like, yeah, why can't we just join? But what happens if the board says no?
Well, that's where we have to go visit. That's why I'm saying it's like, you have to be able to put your cards on the table, because
But we have visited.
if you're hell-bent on keeping it in just this area here, they're not gonna come this way. We have to be able to suck up our ego if we're gonna visit with other districts and maybe come to a common ground. Maybe it's not just
Right.
over here, maybe it's somewhere else.
But then what happens with the parking lot thing? Like, that's where I'm like,
But
I'm so
that's
torn
where you
because everybody's like,
dialogue.
well, we have to
That's
have
why
it
you
here
have
at the
to go back
parking
to the
lot.
drawing board.
Well, we can't, I don't think we can go all the way backwards. I don't think that we have to go back from start. We can't start from fresh. I mean, I think we need to figure out what we want to do. And what I would like to see is, this is just me, is get some of the members that were on the vote no and have little committee meetings with them, sit down as a board, discuss what they want to see, and then go from there. I don't think we have to go back to the steering committee, back to the square one. I don't want to go back 2 years. I think if we can have committees gather, get ideas, figure something out, and then come out with a
That's
solid
exactly
plan.
what I think too. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, that's what I would
I
like to
agree
see.
with you too, Jamie. I think we need to talk to these people and say, what do you
Yeah.
want? It's like
Yes.
I said before, and Teresa said before, it's not about what Tracy Bookta wants.
Right.
What does the majority of the people want?
And and I'm all about that. I'm just fear, because like I had people that called and they're like, we need to go with BLH. I'm like, what happens if, so what are your, not that I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. What happens when they say, no, we want to continue doing what we're doing? Then, they've got money into this too, right? They've got a consultant, they've got,
They're going.
they
They're
want
going
to
through this
still
process
take
too.
their steps. So then what happens? Are you saying that we have to wait? Because then essentially we're going to have to do something. So we go back up and now we're going to say, okay, we have to have this emergency excess levy. Now we're costing taxpayers more money.
We have to do it anyway.
Not necessarily.
We have to have emergency levy. Have you walked around lately? We have to
Yeah.
do something immediately. I have a bunch of notes I was gonna bring up tonight.
Well, I think that something's got to give, and we can't. You're gonna make taxpayers mad because we're going back out and asking for money. We just did it last year, so now we go it again. And then if we have to have a referendum to build because we're consolidating, now you're going and asking them again. So I think that we really need to. I would love to have the idea of sitting down and chatting with.
I think we just have to have these conversations. We have to
Yes.
have all these
Yes.
conversations and see where it goes.
When you talk committee meetings, you're talking like little committee
So-
or just bring them in here? Let's just bring them in here.
No. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that you need to have, because first of all, I'm gonna be-
I'm gonna disagree with you, because I think it needs to be board to
No.
board, so that
I do
everybody
too.
is involved.
yeah, but when I'm saying board to board,
Bring 'em
yes,
all?
I'm talking about committees. I'm talking when
No.
you're talking for people coming in that were
She
part of
did
the no.
committee.
I'm talking about those people coming, not as a big, large group. First of all, I'm not comfortable being in, I don't go to large settings for a reason. You know, I have a daughter that works at the nursing home, so I don't really need to bring anything back to her so she can hurt somebody. So A. B, I don't like the fact that everybody's gonna have so many I think we need to bring them in small groups. Don't bring everybody and just have a million people go off at once. Bring small groups.
That's kind of what I meant. I didn't mean like the
Yeah,
whole town.
No, I mean, I don't want everybody who's like, I'm voting no, I wanna tell you what I think. Like, I think small groups, because I think there's still gonna be a lot of different opinions, right? I think there's still gonna be people, but no matter what, are gonna vote no, no matter what they vote.
Right, well, you know, and Todd Frank read it, or sent us that letter and wanted to come
Right.
and visit with us. And I think him and a few of his constituents would be good to come in and say, what are your thoughts?
That's right.
What do you think?
Yes, that's what I'm
Where are
saying.
you guys going?
Yes.
And just,
Yeah, some spokespeople.
exactly.
yeah,
Oh,
I just
yeah.
I want to clarify the email that I sent back to Todd about not coming tonight, because I think,
We need to talk about it first.
yeah, that's
I
what I
agree.
felt. And I also, I've been on the board 10 years now. And I have found that every time a community member has wanted to come and speak at a meeting and have open discussion, it doesn't happen. So I think this conversation is important enough that I want to be able to have open conversation with all of us. And so it wasn't because I was saying we don't want to hear what you want to say. And I did talk to him about that today. So I wanted to make sure that he knew for sure that we do want to hear them. We do want to have conversations with them, but I just, at an open board meeting, when you're trying to, we're not always, as
Well,
board
we need to
members, it
talk
can be
first.
tough to discuss.
Right, and I think your email was pretty clear, but
I
you know,
feel like it
people
was,
get
but-
different ideas
Yeah, I
about
just
it, and
wanted
of
to-
course, what gets out there is the board doesn't want it.
Yeah,
they
board
just
said
want
no,
it.
and that.
And that's not what happened, your
Exactly.
email was clear
So-
saying not this Monday,
Right.
but we just need to have a work session first.
Well, we
and
need
then-
to talk first. I
Right.
think we haven't
Yep.
had that chance yet.
And I think I want the discussion we have with them to be productive, and I'm not sure
Correct.
it's gonna be productive yet.
If
So-
they had representation,
Yes,
that would be, I think, the most
I think
effective
so, too.
way to communicate. They can have people speaking on behalf of, you know, whoever's on their
Yeah.
progress committee, and I think we'd be able to have a better conversation
Yes, I agree.
professionally,
Yes.
respectfully,
Right. For sure.
and that's
So,
the only way we can
Okay,
move
then-
forward.
Can we just take and go back to the number 2 there? And is that something you want to continue that discussion with the hospital?
Not at this time, I don't think.
Not at this
Maybe other
time?
stuff first.
yeah, I can.
Okay, then let's look at number 3, then that's what we're talking about right now, is the sharing of other districts. We'll continue the communication with the hospital, but it's kind of on hold until you get an opportunity to visit with some other districts. And it did, and I think, you know, some people have reached out to other districts, but I think it's very important you go through the chain of command when you're gonna be talking to other districts, please. Respect those, and when you talk to a certain member of the board, it's just like here, you're gonna get a view, one, and that's, so be careful of that, and I think, you know, go through the district offices, and I've talked with Bill HS, and the last conversation I had with the superintendent is that they would be willing to come together and sit down and talk. And so I think that's a start. And so, but I'd like to see the boards do that. I'd like to have them sit here and face to face, wherever, and discuss the positives and negatives. And you have to do that.
and Denny can set the room up better for that than I will.
So we can do that?
I think it's important that we meet very soon. That way we have
agree.
a, you know, clear idea on how we have to move forward. If they can come back and say, no, we would like to continue with what we're doing, they're starting over their strategic plan. And if they tell us that, we need to respect that, and we need to continue to focus on what's best for our students and our school. And continue the communication with them, with our programming. But as far as our other major plan, we have to stick with it. We just do. I mean, we have to do what's best for Bold right now.
So number 3,
So set up a meeting and do it as soon as possible.
And do you think that should be done before then we meet with, I feel like that should be done before then we get the small community meetings together.
Yes.
That's just my opinion. Let's get
agree.
that off, so, then we know,
So we
yes
know
or no.
one way or the other,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to repairs improvements, Olivia's site, and that's, I've got Danny, I wanted him to come tonight because I think he's got a good handle on the issues in the building, and so what are the immediate repairs and additions and renovation costs and timelines, student function during major construction of the pool are just some topics listed there, so we can add or delete from that to whatever you want to do. But I think, Denny, if you want to share a little bit about your immediate repairs, and this is not the first time I've had Denny come to the committee or to the board. And so he has shared this information prior. And it always gets down to that dollar and the repairs that it takes place. And school districts, seems like it's a habit of when we get down to our needs is we think, well, that roof will last another year or two, or we keep putting Band-Aids on, and that's what you get yourself in a hole. And things like that have happened, and so now we have to somehow remedy that. And so, Danny, if you want to share some of your things that you're looking at right now.
Sure.
I asked him to put together a list, and that list continues to get longer every day.
I'll just mainly kind of hit the highlights. Roofing right now is, in my mind, number one. We have 99 edition here. That's 360,000. The upper part of the 99 edition, that's another 360,000. We've had issues with the 97 edition, which would be basically the ag hall, east side of the building. That roof was figured out at about 300,000. We're watching the roof basically over in Bird Island. I met with Brian Thompson with the Garland Company. They got that labeled as 99. That roof there basically covers the gym, and then there's a little flat piece between the buildings. It's kind of adjoins the older edition with the newer edition. That ballpark number that he came up with, that roof is 225,000. We also have some other issues, and I'll kind of skim over this real quick. Sewer lines. We've had a number of sewer lines that have collapsed within the building. The west side of the building, the bathrooms have turned into basically storage rooms. I believe the year on that building is 1954. We've had problems down in the boiler room. You guys are aware of that. The art room drain, it's lucky that I found a line over there, a 6-inch line that ran out to the sewer. The art room is fixed. Basically all the bathrooms from the 1922 edition and the 1954 have been abandoned. They've been blow foam shut. They've been closed off. The 1960s edition, we're starting to having issues with that also. The 1972, which I would call the pool area, and the new gym or the big gym, we've had also drain issues in those bathrooms also. We have one, and I got some pictures here that I'll show you guys of the tunnels. Heating and cooling, I'll jump to that. The units that are running right now are 1954 to 1999. The units that we're using right now. Older units, there's no control on them. There's one from the 1922. That was rather interesting. That's still left in place below in one of the crawl spaces. Generally, these units, about 20, 25 years is about all you get out of them. They run constantly. Everybody says, well, we're only in school 8, 9 months. Well, those units run year round. I mean, they do not shut off. Parts for these units are non-existent. They did at one time, when they added on to the 99 edition, they did go through and put hydronic valves in. Those valves are giving up. We have one in this room right now that is off because we can't get parts for it. We have to replace the valve. Those valves, I call them orange eaters. Those valves cost $700. The 99 edition, the ductwork, when that addition was put on, there must have been some cutbacks in the budget. We're struggling with ductwork right now. The ductwork that is up there is basically like a cardboard box. So we can only run 50 hertz on all 3 of those units, which in layman terms is about half as much as what they're supposed to be, okay? So if we run it any higher, the ductwork, it just opens up, it just blows apart. Steam lines, condensate lines, pumps, constant issue. We can go down in the tunnels. I can show you where they're leaking. Condensate lines really don't concern me, but when the steam lines start going, then you have to do something. A lot of it contributes back years ago. They didn't have the chemicals. They didn't have anything that you put on a steam boiler. We have, just this last month, we got a converter on the 99 edition that's going to be coming up. That's been priced out to me between 15 and 20,000. The heater in the kitchen, that's a return line right now. I have that heater off in there, which we're lucky it got warmer. That is a condensate return line that is leaking underneath in the tunnels. The principal's office, this year we had also a steam line that was leaking in there. Enveloping the building, Matt Zupke called me. It's kind of a funny little story. He has papers on his windowsill. Well, the wind switched around to the south and he couldn't figure out how all his papers were laying on the ground. Those windows down there on that 99 edition, $72 a square foot per window, roughly. There's a lot of windows down there. Doors, the tuck pointing on the old side of the building, I brought that up before. The shale stone caps, I've capped them, but now it's starting to come into the buildings underneath the cap. As far as safety for the students, the entryways, as far as how a person enters the building, stuff like that, yeah, we're safe, probably in a rural community, but if you get a loose cannon out there, we're not safe. We have doors down on the west side that have gaps underneath the doors like this because we're using the hallway as a plenum, so they're pulling the heat out of those rooms. Active shooter situation, it would be a disaster. Handicap accessibility, I wrote that down today. We really only have one spot handicap accessibility and it's not handicap accessible. Are we required to do that? No, but it's kind of a standard in the buildings now. I'll try to throw some of these pictures up here.
Trying to do the Apple screen test. Don't do that.
Do the,
Just go to share your screen down at the bottom.
Question, think of things that you have, Jenny, a lot of needs. We know this. As far as funding, I don't know if there's emergency. Do you know of any, Ryan, any opportunities there to get some additional funding for emergency situations for like our situation
Your situation probably wouldn't classify as emergency, right? Emergency, obviously tornado, weather, whatever, you can use insurance, and there's actions for FEMA and things like that that you could do. An operational levy, that goes to operations, it doesn't go to building repairs. Operational levy provides money for operations, so it frees up capital dollars in your general fund, which you could then use to do repairs if you have extra capital to do so. It's an option. You're probably not capital heavy right now. You probably don't have a lot of extra money in your capital to do anything with. So the most feasible probably option is to do a small referendum. At this point, you could do a referendum in August and do a $1, $2, $5, $6 million referendum. And you could turn that out 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, those are all. Yep.
So you're saying we can't go out and go for a maintenance levy? It can't be, we can't say we want a maintenance levy
It would be a referendum,
or referendum.
But can we?
just like what you just went through.
I thought you had to wait 74 days, could we, after 74 days, get one in?
The deadline for the next referendum option, which is May 12th of this year, is February 26th. Yeah, like in 4 days or 5 days,
Friday.
I think, or something like that. I can. So the next date is August 12th, I believe, this year, which is the second Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of February, April, May, August. So you have to have a review and comment put together. You have to have the board resolution. Both of those would be required
So
in May.
we just do not have time for May. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna be feasible. I mean,
Yeah, that's the quickest.
so.
Even if the operational levy component, if there's something that could be done there, you can't go out for an operational levy until November. So, yeah, emergency is.
That's only one time a year.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure how that, since you already have one in place, if you could do a 1-year operational levy increase, that's a whole nice little question.
We'd have to do some checking on that.
Yeah. But the bond referendum would probably be the least costly to the taxpayer because you can duration it out a little bit longer as opposed to hitting everybody for 1 year.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a bigger hit.
What does that look like when you try to go back out for, let's say we decide we're gonna do,
It drops off. So
but we have to wait until that's paid for?
No, so I mean let's big picture conceptually, you go out for a referendum in August to do, let's just say $4 million in repairs, and that term is 10 years. You bought a 10-year mortgage, okay? You could go out in 2 years after talking with districts or doing whatever you want to do, and you have that now added debt onto your books. And after that debt would be incorporated into any new debt with a new facility plan. So it would add for the first 8 years, call it a little bit more to everybody's payment. And then after that 8 years, it would drop. But you can structure the financing in the banks and when you pay principal and interest, you can structure that so it's not as up and down throughout the years. You can make it level. But yeah.
All right. Jen, you want to show your pictures?
Okay, I'll give this a whirl, see what I did.
We got you up there. So.
Yeah, this is scary. This is our last episode. We're still working on this. That's one of the pumps that
Hold on,
Yeah, we're not up there yet.
I looked at the picture.
Are you sure you've used the computer before, Denny?
No,
Hey, don't give Denny a hard time, come on.
Listen, apples are a little more difficult to use if you're not used to
He's
them.
got enough going
Have you
on.
replaced a steam coil before, Jim?
I like
Well,
that.
I like that
Oh.
True.
Thank you.
That was good, right?
Probably inappropriate.
No, that's not.
No.
that's why you figured that it-
Gotta have a little fun.
Why,
we already tried that.
Well,
nobody likes you.
Especially after this, they won't.
Why is it just showing part of your screen? When I move this over there, it's still not showing that.
well,
Can we, I think,
I made you a little bit bigger, that's all I can do.
can you shrink that?
I can shrink you, yes.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Never mind.
That's all I'm doing, sorry.
Let me try this.
Oh, now you're done.
Oh, I know you did.
What did I do?
You just shared this. You didn't share the whole.
Okay, good
There you
deal,
go.
all right.
That was Brett. Blame
I
Brett.
thought I did something,
Thanks, Jim.
so.
No, I can't get it on the other screen. Okay, yep. Basically what we had down in the basement down there, sump pump had given up, none of the alarms went off. Guessing we had between 30,000 to about 50,000 gallons of water down there.
Water from where?
I'll show you later.
It, haven't quite figured that out. We got about 3 places that contributed that. You get some groundwater in there, you get some condensate water, you get the softener water discharging in there. What I did was I had our softener company come out. I had them regenerate the softeners. The pump that we have in there now will keep up with the regeneration.
You just keep talking.
So that way, it doesn't ever come out of the sump pump hole.
Sure.
The lines were ran into basically a sump pump hole instead of plumbing it in. But after a little further research, we'd have to go all the way to the other end of the building in order to get a sewer line that worked. So all the sewer lines down there in that part. What you just do? That's another picture.
The next one?
Yeah.
Okay. It appears to be working,
Yeah, but it's not up there.
isn't it?
No.
No.
So does it have anything to do with the sizing of pipes? I mean, if you look back way in the day, pipes were smaller and,
Right.
I mean, does that have,
They're not able to set up. It is over.
It's not great.
Sorry.
Um,
Oh, you're fine.
we had a lot of electrical issues. We were here late that night trying to get it all figured out. We had, if I could show you the one picture here, we had the pumper truck come out, pump it the rest of the way down because it was taking too long. If you look here, we had single phase activity going on.
ooh,
These are 100 amp. It's a 3-phase 100 amp connection. So you got 300 amps running through this. And this one here was very close to being unhooked. If we go up on top here, oops, I'm gonna go smaller. We did have juice on the top side here yet. Yeah.
That could have been bad.
You could, a lot of our issues started in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden the light bulb started going off. Why this was ever put down there, different substations, and when you talk about adding on to a building, you gotta be really careful with this, because every time you add on to a building, basically they run a new power station in it, or they run, I mean, so you got multiple ends of it. And without being there when it's constructed, it's really tough to find out where that power is fed from. So it's,
I have to do this every day. Go ahead and open the one you want.
this next picture, I'll kind of show you that it's happened quite a few times. If you look on the side of this, this is the old heater from 1922, still down in this hole. If you look on here, these are all different levels to where that water was at. And if you look at where, over on this side, where the water was at this time, it was right through the panel boxes. So when we were standing down there, a local electrician and myself, we were trying to get power back to the kitchen so we didn't lose between $5,000 and $7,000 worth of food. These panels, and I really don't care what it costs, are being moved because we're not gonna do that again.
How do we not have a fire?
Well, we can skip that.
That's a great picture.
Here's when you go down into this area, the steps that came down that you're seeing on the right-hand side, that was basically the way out of the building. When they capped that, that's the entryway, when they tore off the third floor. And you gotta remember, we're dealing with a remodel on this and everything else. We have telephone lines down there, we have everything else. When you go around the corner up here, you can crawl through a little crawl space. And that, there's old Christmas trees down there, toilets, urinals, old blocks, everything else was kind of shoved back in there and forgotten about. So some of these pictures I'm just showing you to know what we kind of deal with. This one here, that's part of the old air unit that's still down there. And that was full. I tried getting down, there's a great big fan down there. I tried getting down in there to see actually if the pump that was down there was pumping, but it was completely full of water, so.
Fire is not
It's
the
just a barbershop. We can skip that.
biggest concern right there. Typically, if someone steps in that water and that water is.
Electrocution.
electrified,
Yeah.
That's the biggest.
That's
Put
pretty
that
dope.
one up there. This is, we'll make Travis famous. This is now you gotta remember, this is in the basement, and you go through a hole about this big. Well, when the old softener system went down, that was never cut out or removed. That's all still down there, and that was all kind of floating around that we had to work around. We'll go, I got some building pictures on here as well. This right here is the north wall on the pool area. You can see how that was patched. They just took some caulk, put that in there. I mean, it was, oh, yeah, from that one. When I talk infrastructure, mainly I talk about the piping. If you see this pipe, this was the bottom side of the pipe. And there's hardly anything left there. This was the top side of the pipe. Most of the piping, the return lines, the steam lines are like this. And that's when I said the chemical, that would have prevented this, but years ago they didn't have it. They didn't have it available. So yeah, we're kind of dealing with a lot of items that just all of a sudden you got a leak somewhere, you don't know where it's coming from. This happened to be right outside of the band room. So, yeah. And they had just, you could tell by the pipe that they were using, you could tell that they had done work above it, but they didn't do the bottom side piping. They didn't go that far. This is another shot of brick condition on the pool area. It's gotten bigger. And if you look right down here, I always say it's crying. That's water coming out behind your fascia. Basically, we get ice jams. I think I have a shot of, oh, well, we can go into that too. These are some of the problems that mechanical wise that we're having. This is, I've never seen a bushing like this. That's basically a pillow block bushing bearing. That's in there. And you can see it's more oblong. That's from age. It's not from abuse.
Where does that bushing belong? What is that from?
Pardon?
Where's the bushing from? The bushing is from
Up in the choir room. There's a little unit that sets up there. It's basically their air conditioning. And that, I mean, it's just wear and tear. I mean, you know, I'm just throwing this out to you guys when you.
What does it cost to replace a bushing like that?
We went with a remodel or a newer pillow block bearing on there, and we slid them out. That's about the last time that you can do that to that unit. We're out basically on the ends. And the Bird Island air handling unit, I didn't bring that up during this, but that is in our big gym over there, has been moved out so far, and you have the fan that sits in the middle of it, squirrel cage fan basically, and it has taken that shaft and bent because the bearings have been moved out so many times. So this here is the notorious crack that weeps. That is, I would call the south side of the pool. Yeah.
And where would the water be coming from that where the crack is?
A lot of it's condensation. They have done back in, I think it was 99 or 98, I found a report on it. We were having water that was leaking from the high side of the pool to the low side on the north side of the building. I couldn't figure out where, stop on that. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. We got up in there and there was a steel cover. I took the steel cover off and the moisture was running down. And granted, it was the middle of the winter, but it's basically coming from both sides of the brick. It's fighting itself. You got hot, humid here. It's coming through the brick, it's dripping down. Summertime, same thing. It just works back and forth.
I open the rest.
Oh, okay. This next picture.
I need to take a time out here. We're at about 6:55 and we can keep going, but I think we need to.
Want me to shorten it up? Okay.
No.
I'll just hit this and then if you guys want to see the rest of this, I'll show it to you after.
I think we need a continuation. I think we need another session because we didn't make it through our list and there's more. So, I mean, you could definitely finish this one and then I think we need to discuss continuing this whole work session.
This was one of the teachers that have been here quite a while. He kept telling me that he could smell urine and he could smell what was for lunch. And I couldn't figure out, okay, now what the heck? Well, I went down there about lunchtime and he was right. You could smell urine. And then if you waited about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, you could smell what they were having for lunch. This is the bathroom tunnel. Now you gotta remember, we put air through this into our rooms. It's pressurized. And we were pumping, this is basically sewer. We were pumping that to our schools. And the reason why I show this is probably 54 edition, 60s in there somewheres with the piping by looking at it. And the gravel that had washed out of this area, the stones were like you put them in a rock tumbler. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. They're shiny. So that's leaked for quite some time. But we shut down the urinal, we capped off that line, and now we have 2 urinals instead of 4. So, but that's just kind of a heads up. I have some other ones, but Joe wants me to shut
I,
them.
no, of course I don't want you to,
I'm
I
just
want,
teasing
I
you.
mean, this is too important, so I want to make sure that we have enough time. We maybe should have planned this for longer tonight, but, what does everybody's schedule look like next Monday? I don't know if we can do it before then, but I would surely like to, continue this because I think we're on a good track, we're having a good discussion, and we have a lot to talk about.
I'm open.
Well-
I'm open.
Thinking like Monday at 6, so, Mr. Bransoy, is that good with you?
Let's, and then have a, think about all this, and if ideas and thoughts are coming, let us know. And we'll add that to the list. And this is good
Ryan, are
discussion to
you-
have, and it
would that
needs to
work for you?
take the time.
Okay.
Monday,
Yes,
that is
the
March 1st.
first, yes. So,
Would you like me to investigate, like, emergency options and see what that
mhm,
looks like if there are any?
that'd be great,
And I'll report to you before
Okay.
next Monday.
yes.
The other thing I think we would like to look at, and I think we're looking at, what would it take to work with this building? If that's the movement we would make.
Without interrupting education,
Pardon?
without interrupting education,
Yeah, and I think,
the best that we can.
I think that's something we need to take a look at. And so if we could get some ideas of that, I don't know, if you have anything else to do you, Ryan?
We-
Yeah, maybe-
well,
Might as well just bring it
that's
up.
that's not a new option. We discussed
Right.
that. so,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
It's an option, so, but I think so. And then those other, what is left there was the Bird Island site, we have to take a look at that. There's a strong committee over there that's working very hard at usage of that building, and they're bringing a lot of ideas, time and stuff, so that's, they're moving forward with that, so I think we're working with the EDA there. And so, the thing is, we're still maintaining it and heating it and everything, and we will do that. But it's costing us, so.
Yep, and
Anyway,
we can go on Monday with this. I would like to just take like about a 5-minute break here. I will put us on pause before we begin our, thank you all for the discussion. I'm gonna put us on pause for 5 minutes before we start our regular meeting, so we'll be back. All right, welcome back. Sorry that took so long. We're gonna start this, took a little longer break. We had done some work to get our board packets out sooner, and some of the bills weren't ready to go in there yet. So we've been printing bills so that we can approve those tonight. So we will get, we'll get things working on all cylinders soon. It's just change is sometimes difficult. So I want to call this meeting of the Board of Education of the Brown-Olivia Lake Lillian Independent School District number 2534, we'll call it to order. We're going to begin. I'm going to read our mission statement just because it's something that is on our agenda every single time. And something I've been thinking a lot about, mission and vision. And so I'd like to read it. The mission of the Bold School District is to provide all learners in the Bold community an education designed to develop the creativity, character, confidence, and skills essential to flourish in a changing global society. And along with that, we don't have the vision statement on there, but it's on our website. And our vision statement is the Bold School District, united to achieve excellence and expecting the best, be bold. So just kind of want to center us and ground us here as to what we're here for, and we're here for the kids and our community. So I think it was about 7:10 when I called to order. So we'll begin with the approval of our agenda, and we had an addendum that was sent earlier and also given to you at the meeting. And so we have 2 extra items under personnel, and then 4 more donations that will be on the resolution at the end. So we'll just make sure we keep track of all that as we go forward. So we'll begin with the approval of the agenda.
So moved, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen,
I'll second Buchtel.
seconded by Buchtel. Any discussion or questions about the agenda? All right, hearing nothing, we will vote. And we will start with Teresa.
Yes.
Tracy,
I,
Sandy,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Recognition of visitors to the board meeting as soon as I let them in. Thank you all for attending tonight via Zoom, and we hope you enjoyed some of the beautiful weather that we were provided today. So, and hopefully we have more to come. So, moving on to public forum. Somebody else coming here. So. Okay, I can't let this person in apparently. I'm not sure what's going on here. Here we go. 15th time with the charm. So we will move on to public forum. And this is a time placed on the agenda for regular board meetings. During this part of the regular school board meeting, up to 10 minutes of time will be allowed for district constituents to address the board. Each person or topic may have up to 2 minutes time, and this is a time of listening by the board. So if anybody would like to speak, now is the time. I will time it, but you will have to unmute yourself and state your name. And then I will recognize you, and we'll, as soon as we get everybody who would like to speak, we will start speaking. So if anybody would like to speak, now is the time during the public forum. Would anyone like to speak at the public forum? All right, I'll just ask one more time if anyone would like to speak during the public forum. If so, unmute yourself and state your name. All right, we are moving on. Move on to the consent items. And we only need one motion to approve the consent items. And these items this month are approving the bills for payment, which we just got. So,
You skipped Dale.
oh,
School reorganization.
oh my gosh, I did.
The most important part.
I don't want to start the audio for things, and you know, we're good.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I should be recognized. So sorry about that. After the public forum is School Board Recognition Week, and Mr. Bransoy, take it away.
I've got certificates for each one of you for certificates of appreciation. And I want to share these with you. It's for your dedication to the students and the public education in the state of Minnesota. And it's a thank you for the time that you spend working with this and the many meetings that we've had and we continue to have. But it's a very important role for our students. And I appreciate tonight that Jill read the mission statement, because I think oftentimes we forget we don't keep this in front of us. And so I'm glad it's on every one of our agenda items, but please look at that. And what is our responsibility as board members? And so read that we're responsible for the learners of the district. And so you've got quite a commitment to make. And so I feel that that's your role as setting policy for the district, and for us as administrative team to enforce that to what your expectations are. But again, take a look at that mission statement. It's very key, and provide for all learners. And that's what we have to do. And regardless of who walks through that door, we will provide the best quality education we can. And so that's very important, and that's your role as being on the school board. You're elected officials, and so you're to represent the entire district and everything we do. And so it's important to gather that information as we do. And I think tonight, just to share, I think we had a good discussion that hour before. I think we were a lot of discussion and people were listening to each other. And that's what is important, that we're listening to constituents and bringing that to the board. That's your job as elected officials. And so please, I thank you for the time and the work that you put towards being an elected official. So I thank you. And this is the week that to honor your people as board members. So I thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on now to consent items.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, thank you for keeping me on track. We only need one motion to approve all the consent items. And so the consent items this month are approving the bills for payment and approving the minutes from the January 25th, 2021 regular meeting.
So moved, Benson.
So motion is made by Sandy. I will second that. Any questions or discussion on any? I'm sorry, we will get our ducks in a row and have the payments, the bills for payment out
If
for
you,
you to inspect before the meeting.
can I just interject, Joe? If you have questions on it now, don't hesitate to either text me or the office. It's hard for us to respond over a month's bills, and so to get the specifics. So if you have a question, let Joy or myself or Jody, Lindsay, anyone, just text us and we'll respond to it and everything, because it takes some time to go through it, and there's a lot there when you take all month's bills, and so. But don't hesitate if you see something, you have a question on, let us know, and we want to do that. So, okay, thank you.
All right, any questions?
I just have to say this is just gonna be for fun, okay? But on this one, I think it's kind of funny, page 4 of 27. There's a 3-pack of knee highs.
I actually know what that was for.
What?
That was for art.
All righty then. So, okay.
Like the hearing last month.
So, all right, so with
Good
that.
one.
Embarrassed about that.
You are kind of red.
All right, so with that, we will vote. There aren't any other questions or discussion, and we'll begin with Jamie.
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to personnel. Number 1, approve Lori Minkle as a Little Warriors paraprofessional effective February 1st of 2021.
So move, Boleen.
Second, Bookto.
Motion is made by Boleen, seconded by Bookto. Any questions or discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll vote, and we'll begin with Tracy.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. It's actually a little easier with only 5 of us. I can remember everybody. No, anyway, no, it's not. All right, number 2, approve the following 2020-2021 spring extra and co-curricular positions.
There's one correction on with the junior high baseball coach.
Oh, that's right.
That should be a 1.0 position and not a 0.5.
Junior high baseball, the one that's for
For
Denny's.
Danny.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a correction.
Can we ask questions now, or do we have to wait till?
Wait for the motion.
I will make the motion.
Oh, sorry, I'll second.
Motion is made by Hanson, seconded by Bookdahl. Any discussion or questions?
I just have a question, Danny, with all the maintenance, how do you find time for this?
Or organization.
I probably therapy.
He's here. He's here at 5:30 in the morning. That's why how he does it, I don't know. He's younger than I am. Thanks, Jim.
Any further discussion or questions?
Just a comment, I think that helps for his maintenance. I think kids respect him a little more and they work harder to keep it clean. So maybe that's an advantage for you, huh? Well, thanks, we appreciate your
Yes,
thinking
thank
that.
you. All right, anything else? Hearing nothing else, we'll vote. We'll begin with Sandy.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Moving on to reports, we begin with our superintendent's report.
Okay, I gotta find it here. Too many papers tonight.
Jill,
Okay, starting out with the due north, as I mentioned,
You
it-
forgot, we gotta do these other personnel.
Oh, yeah, 3 and 4.
Oh,
sorry.
See, and I even pointed them out.
I know.
Okay, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm
that's
sorry.
why I wasn't ready.
Oh, wow. Wow, they even pointed
Sorry,
it out.
Jill.
I am sorry. No, this is my fault. All right, moving on to personnel, we have 3 and 4 yet. Number 3, approve a leave of absence for Corey Eiler for the 2021 and 2022 school year.
So move, Bookto.
Motion made by Bookto. I will second that. Any discussion or questions on that?
I have one question. Dale, what does it cost us when, like, a teacher like this goes on leave? We have to pay all their health insurance and all their benefits and everything?
They can, if they take their sick leave, then we have to honor that. But other than that, what that leave guarantees them is that they have that position and they return, is what it is. So
Okay,
So that's what it costs. I mean, that's, we have to leave that position open, or not leave it open, but when they return, they have to have.
And it's part of their contract, so.
right, but I got a question. Like, how many times can you do this? Because I think this would be the 5th time for this particular employee. This is number 5.
Okay, I mean, I know obviously this year.
I think 4 or 5. I think I went
I
back
don't
in the
know that
notes
for
and I
certain.
think I remember it's like 4 or 5.
Is that,
So how many times can you do that?
this is second year as
I
far
would
as I
assume,
know.
are you like, say
No,
like
there's-
maternity leave?
No, just leave of absence. I don't know what kind of leave of absence, but just a leave of absence. I think
That could, I mean,
prior to you, I think it was 2 or,
she took this year, this
yeah,
school year,
yeah.
School year.
and then now this one.
This
This one,
second
this
year.
is 2, but prior to that, I think it was like 2 or 3
My
other.
guess is that was for child, for birth,
Okay. So they can just take as many as they want?
not for this leave of absence. This is a full year leave of absence. When
I think
she-
the other ones were 2.
I don't know that.
Isn't it in there?
Need to have some
I'm
investigation.
just saying
on it.
that, to me,
I will check
I mean,
on it.
if they
I'm not
continue
aware
to
of
do
it, yes.
that, that's not fair to the rest of the teachers that, I mean, we could have just everybody saying, I want to take a leave of absence, and we've got, well, I'm just saying, I mean, we could have numerous teachers wanting to take a leave of absence, we have to pay for all their benefits, and then we have to pay another teacher, a sub, to come in again to cover that, correct?
I believe Corey's been subbing, so hasn't she?
Very few times.
So-
When you said we pay their benefits, do we really pay?
Well, they should be getting their benefits while they're gone on a leave, right?
I
I
don't
mean-
think you do.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I'm not positive.
I didn't think you did either.
So
I
do
thought-
they acquire
She's not
anything
getting
and
paid.
cure
No,
anything
We're
while
not
they're
paying her
gone?
and a sub.
No.
I mean, we're not.
No,
she's not getting
I
paid.
think she's thinking, are
No,
they paying like
right, okay.
But we're
vouchers?
paying benefits. I do
I
believe,
don't know.
Something we have just gotta check on.
I didn't think it was, I thought it was like a Cobra type
Derek's
deal,
right
but
there.
if you wanted to.
Derek, where'd you know? You know how that works?
That's on his contract.
Yeah, because if I remember it, I think
Okay,
I look
so
back, this is the
sounds like
5th
some
time,
stuff
so I'm
that-
just kind of getting a little worried here going, okay, if one teacher continues to do it, are we going to continue just, I mean, 4 or 5 people could do that, and we're going to be in a world of hurt because we're already kind of,
It's covered in our master agreement, and if you, and I cited the article, and it's Article 14, and extended leave of absence. I'll read it for you. It's found, written application, a teacher may be granted at the discretion of the district, a leave of absence of a maximum of 2 years. During that leave, the teacher shall be considered employee of the district and shall remain previously accrued related fringe benefits, including seniority, previously accumulated sick leave, and may remain in the existing one, health and hospitalization insurance program, but that shall not be eligible for district contribution. So if they want to stay on our health, they can do that, but they have to pay it.
So only
And
2
during the
years.
leave and of the absence, the district will not contribute to the teacher's 403B. So there is not fringe benefits other than
right,
being in the seniority list and that, so.
I mean, she has 3 daughters, so she would
Right.
have been on
That would
maternity
make
leave.
sense.
Right.
Possibly.
well, which is fine,
Right,
I'm just saying,
so-
I'm just stating the obvious here, that if one continues to do it, how many more
then
Could
the
say, oh,
master
well, this
agreement,
one
it
doesn't.
says you can only do it for 2 years,
Yeah.
and this is her second year.
Mhm.
So something
Yeah,
that needs to be checked on,
Yeah,
but I would
probably.
assume that we're following the master agreement, so,
And I assume we were, I was told we were,
right.
but we'll do that, we'll check on
Okay,
all right.
it. Okay,
all right, any other discussion on that?
good question.
Hearing nothing, we will vote. Jamie?
Aye.
Sandy?
Nay,
Tracy?
Aye.
Teresa?
I'm only gonna say nay because I need to have more information too.
All right,
I don't know
well then,
anything about it.
I'm gonna say aye, so
Sorry, I
we
can't
can't
vote when I
pass
don't
it,
know.
so we're gonna have to hold it until next one.
Okay.
Okay? All right, number 4, approve the resignation of Audrey Mole, elementary teacher, effective February 22nd of 2021.
So moved, Bookbill.
Second, Boleen.
Motion is made by Bookbill, seconded by Boleen. Any questions or discussion on the resignation? Hearing nothing, we will vote and begin with Tracy.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Sandy?
aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. All right, now moving on to superintendent's report. Thank you, Jamie, for keeping me on task.
Okay, what mine's short here and for time wise, we're running over, so. But just to talk about the Due North, it's the Minnesota Education Plan, and this has been put out by the governor and his staff, and as far as his educational plan for Minnesota. And it's I included the flyer that he sends out, so it's a lot of materials on here. It explains what it is. So that's for your information. And it serves as a guide towards the future of every child receives a high quality education, no matter their race or zip code. Doesn't make wherever you live in the state of Minnesota, you are to get a high quality education. And that's very important. And so that's his focus. And the plan includes actions to support students during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of resources and emphasis being put in that right now. Reform our school finance system. There's a group out there that is studying that right now, and a group of administrators and board members. The MSBA is involved in it. The MASA is involved in it as a study group of the finance system, and working very hard to get something that's more equitable for outstate and the metro area. And expand opportunity for students in greater Minnesota, then to build the most qualified and diverse teaching workforce in the nation. Some pretty big goals there that this plan is part of the focus. And so he's working very closely with the Minnesota Department of Education. And they're also in support of this. And so we'll see. Again, this is his plan, putting out there, and then this is what he'll advocate for. So you can see the priorities that are listed there, and so for your information. Then the second part was the legislative update. I don't know if you've been involved with MSBA and their weekly reports. Every, I think it's Saturday or Friday, the MSBA has a report where the lobbyist from MSBA reports for the weekly. And so if you have an opportunity to listen to that, it's an update of where we're at with the legislature. And I think we need to keep informed as we go and let our representatives know how it is impactful, what's happening with it. So stay involved if you would like and if you can. And so just to put some timelines out there that right now the legislature is working in committees, having committee hearings, very busy doing that. Then next Friday, the Minnesota Management Budget will release the February forecast. Very key to our committees that are working and has to do with finance. And so then after they've released that forecast, then everything goes back into the House and the Senate. They begin to work on budget process, and they'll look at what the committees are putting together and coming out of the committees, and then put a financial information to that, and then it'll go back to the House and the Senate for their leadership. The House and Senate will develop their respective committee targets, and then the committees will begin developing their respective finance bills. And that's due out of committee April 9th. And then May 17th, that's supposed to be the end of the regular session. So we'll see if they can get their work done in that time. There's a lot of, it's unbelievable the number of bills that are being presented, but some of them don't get out of the committee. And then those that do will be looked at more. Bills being considered involve a summer learning program. A real emphasis on that right now is due to COVID. And I keep, the principals, we keep looking at what's elementary, high school, middle school, what is it looking for as students and learning. And so they're reviewing that all the time. And I know the high school right now just finished are in what quarter? The second, third quarter? Third quarter already. Ooh. So they're evaluating that right now, but the federal and the state, they're very, very interested in looking at that and seeing, do we need to provide funding for our programs? And so the principals and administrators are looking at what options would you have for a summer program or a credit recovery program that would be above and beyond what we've had for students that are struggling. And so we need to do that. So other things are the teacher evaluation plans are being reviewed. Rural transportation funding is looking at increasing them, and declining enrollment funding, looking at the loss of students in public schools. That information is being fed into the State Department right now, and then that's going to the legislature to look at the amount of loss of students, pupil units. And so then looking at increasing per pupil formula by 2%. And that'll be interesting when that comes out of the committee. And that will really depend on that forecast, that economic forecast that's coming out in February here. So I don't know. The last forecast we had, it came back better than what they anticipated. So we'll see what the February, what happens next on Friday. So that's the legislative updates. And like I said, the MRE and the MSBA have got lobbyists, and they try and keep you abreast. So if you look at their websites, it'll help you out. So. And then the last time was just a facility update. And I think I just want to summarize what our hour was with prior to this meeting. And I think we got a lot of, we discussed a lot of things, topics, and we didn't get done. So if we can come back next Monday to continue that discussion, I think it was very, very good. And like I shared, I think people, you listen to each other, you're able to speak, and that's what we're all about. So I thank you for that. So that's just a little summary of where we came from. And I appreciate Denny being here tonight to put some facts together as far as the building, the condition of our buildings, and I think that's very important to keep that in front of us. So, okay, and that's all I have at this point, unless you have questions for me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was that?
Fastest one ever. I said fastest one ever.
All right.
Jill, can I back up? Just one thing, make a little statement. I want to go back up here where we were approving the spring sports. And I just want, there's a whole big list. People out there don't see it, but we have a lot of volunteer people on here too. And I just want to thank those people that volunteer for our spring sports also. So.
Thank you.
Spring sports and anything they
Well, any volunteer, yeah, all of them.
All right, moving on to elementary principals report. It's included in your packet, and if you have anything to add, Mr. Benson, or if anyone has any questions.
I'll just highlight, February is a big month, and especially in the elementary. I love Read Month. The kids and the staff has taken over that and has really, like today with our pajama day, snuggle up to a good book. I don't know how the teachers and the kids wear their pajamas to school because I think I would have fallen asleep. But it's awesome watching all the, dress up days and everything that we've done. The big prize here at the end, I think I mentioned this last meeting, but I don't remember, is they're gonna get, if they get through their challenge, which is on that third page that you guys got, it's our school-wide contest. So preschool, if they read a book a night, if kindergarten reads 100 minutes for the month, first grade 200 minutes, and so on, they get to throw a pie in one of 4 staff members' face. So that's going to be a fun time.
Are you one of them?
I am one of them.
Awesome.
We're going to wait until it gets a little warmer outside, so we don't have to have a mask on our face
Good
to
idea.
do that. But that's been a big push for us right now. I mean, we always want students to read, but this is a big time for us to do that. And then we've just had some different things going out throughout the week or the month. We're trying to incorporate the high school a little bit more into our elementary. Unfortunately, for the first 3 weeks of this month, we've only had half the high school students here. So like every Friday, I've asked my staff to put together some times that work for them, for high school students to come down and read to their class. And that's something I think I want to continue. I think Mr. Menton wants to continue throughout moving forward, not just for the month of February. So that's something that we're going to continue to try to push. I know I'm going to get into a couple classrooms for the high school students so they can ask questions, because I know a couple teachers have had questions that they weren't able to answer. So that's one thing. I invite you to walk down our hallway. The students and the staff have done an amazing job doing some door decorations. That's been fun to see. Yeah, the students, the staff, they're fired up to read, and it's been fun. It's been a fun time. This last year, basically March to March, has not always been fun because of COVID, but the students and the staff have done amazing jobs, and this was kind of a fun way to incorporate some reading and a little fun time with it. So, and then
Go ahead.
And then I've got Margaret, who is phenomenal for us. We've got a couple of Dr. Seuss themed lunches for us starting next week. So that's I came to her probably a month ago and said, Margaret, can we do this? And she said, let me think about it. And that'll be fun. So
It's not green eggs.
I just.
but I can probably make some for it. I'm good.
I just have a question. So how, in your opinion, do you feel it's went with, now that everybody's back in session since the beginning of February? Like for elementary, gone well?
I think it's gone well. The one thing that, I'm just gonna use K6, that we haven't had to fight is this mask issue. We've been in school. Grades 7, 8, 9, 12, when they've been to school, it's been 2 weeks or 2 days out of the week. So they don't have to wear it at home. I know when I'm not home, I don't have this thing on.
Right.
So my kids, K6, have been great. If they comes down, the first one to pull it up or we get it up. But I'm glad you asked that, because one thing that we're noticing right now, and this is in general, is social media. Social media has been a challenge coming back. Kids at home, they don't have a whole lot of supervision at times. Well, it's really easy for me to get on my phone and make some really nasty comments towards somebody or a group of people. That's one thing that, technology is great, but it's also a curse at times. So that's one thing that I think, COVID has really put at the forefront is our technology and us using it. But we've got to kind of get better at teaching the right way to use it. I've reached out to Mr. Cruz, and he's got a social media class that he teaches to the 9th grade students, but we're gonna have to start teaching something before 9th grade, because more and more elementary students have these fun things, which has caused a few problems. But other than that, it's been good. It's been good to have kids in the building. Today was great seeing everybody back in the building, instead of just half of us.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to high school principals report, and Mr. Menton.
All right. Dale, did you want me to talk about Friday with COVID? Okay. So one of the things that has come to our attention, as you know, we were doing the 30 minutes of extra prep per day per teacher by doing our Wednesday early outs. And once we all came back to school on February 12th, we no longer were required, we were planning on no longer being required to do that. The governor in his order had said that this 30 minutes of extra prep time is in effect throughout the peacetime emergency that was declared. Well, I think maybe right on the 12th, he basically came out and extended it for another month. Well, we weren't ready for that. And so what we've been trying to figure out, how do we want to cover this? So what we're planning on doing here, and I know this won't be real popular, but we have to do it. We're going to look at doing an early out on Friday, and then the following Friday, and then we're not sure if this is going to get extended again. So we may have to keep doing this if it keeps getting extended. But we'll bring kids to the building for learning in the building, and then do early out on Friday. The teachers will be in the building then the rest of the day for their prep time there. We will have childcare in the afternoon, but we won't be able to do transportation with the childcare because we've already sent the buses out for the day. So that will be something families using the childcare will need to consider. We looked at all kinds of options. We've really talked several hours on this in the last week or so. There's no great way to do this. We looked at letting kids out a half hour early or starting school a half hour later. We looked at extending lunch. We looked at ways to maybe extend recess by 10 minutes and then have the elementary school teachers do this on every day and then let the high school teachers out half hourly. That didn't seem equitable. We really talked a long time about this. So this is what we've decided to do. Any questions on that?
Can you just explain, I understand why you're doing it, but just for maybe people that don't understand why the teachers are needing that extra prep time?
Right. So once again, in the governor's executive order from, I think it was November 13th, he stated that any teacher who is teaching in a hybrid or distance learning situation needed by, I think, November 29th to be given an extra half hour per day of prep time. And all kinds of, it had to be during the school day. You weren't supposed to tack it on to the beginning or the end. You weren't supposed to reduce class times. It really was kind of an impossible situation. So if you can't extend the day or shorten the day and you can't shorten class times, how are you supposed to do this? But so anyway, we started doing the early outs on Wednesday to accommodate that. And as I said before, that was in effect throughout the state of peacetime emergency, which was up on February 12th. But then he extended it for another 30 days on February 12th. So we had already planned on not doing it, and it was a kind of a surprise. We didn't even realize till partway through that week that it had been extended. And so we're trying to do this the best we possibly can. And we think this will have the least impact on families.
And a lot of it's for like those that continue to do distant learning, right? It's that prep time for that distant learning group.
Yeah,
So they can
according to
do two.
the executive order, even if a teacher has one kid
Mhm.
learning from home, that teacher is supposed to get an extra 30 minutes of prep per day. I think it's a good example of something that went into effect considering metro schools, where you're not going to have one kid staying home. But as it is for us, we've only got about 22, I think. Last time I looked, it might have gone up a few, but we've got a lot of teachers that don't have any kids. But how do you can't, well, you got to stay here and your kids have to come. It doesn't work. It's a beautiful idea, but so is pure communism. It just doesn't work.
All right, anything else, Mr. Menton, or any other questions?
I was going to mention, I had my last message that went out on Friday. I talked a little bit about the vaping issue. We got another one today. It's really frustrating, and I think that people really need to understand that this is out there. And as I said in my message, kids need parents, kids need friends, but they don't need their parents to be their friends. Go through your kids' stuff, look and see what they've got. When you look at our mission, and we need parents to be part of our mission statement, we're trying to develop the character and skills essential to flourish in a changing global society. And this is part of it. We need to make sure we're allowing our kids to grow into positive, strong, capable adults. And that sometimes that means you don't trust them. Sometimes that means you do have to look and see what they're actually up to. And they're not going to hate you for it. They might be upset for that day. They might say, I hate you, but they don't. So it's just, we really need help with that. We got to keep it out of here. The vast majority of kids do not want that in here. Nearly every time we've caught someone, it's because sometimes actually good friends of the people turn them in. Not every time, but almost every time it's another student saying, hey, I don't want this in my building. Principal, go take care of it. And I'm really glad that they do that. So.
But I think what Mr. Benton is saying, and Mr. Benson too, is that everybody's got to come together. This is an issue that's all over, and it's tough to enforce, but we need help of the families and help with that. It's when you read about what that's doing, it's sad. So we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to activities report, Mr. Plan, if you have something to add or if anyone has any questions.
I could sit there.
Got a couple of things I just want to point out on here, the one that's not on here. The first one on my report is our one act play, which advanced for the second time in school history out of their subsection and into the section competition. The only other time we did that was 2 years ago in 2019. So we have a few kids that are going to graduate this year who will have been a part of our two most successful one act plays that we've ever had. So just a congratulations to those guys. Also, our dance team won both high kick and jazz at the conference meet last Saturday. And I think that's the second time, and dance isn't that old, but not to degrade what they're doing. I think it's only the second time in school history that we've won both conference championships. I think 2017 was the other time that we won both. I also wanted to point out for any everybody in the public that's watching and you as board members to share this. The spectator limits that just went up do allow us to get a few more people in the gym. We can't go to 250 because we can't physically space out 250 people. We have to use a quarter of our attendance, our max attendance in the gyms, and neither of our gyms hold 1,000 people. So we can't get to 250, but we can get more than we did before. VancoEvents.com is where all the tickets can be purchased. And Brittany and I were talking about it in the office today, and we're wondering if people just don't know that there are seats left available. So what I would like to make sure people know is the day of the event, you can go to that website. If there's tickets, if it'll let you buy tickets, go ahead and buy them because they're available. We're trying to keep it for parents and players' families up until the day of the game. But if you can keep your plans open for a Thursday night in Bird Island and Olivia and Lake Lillian, if there's not too much going on to swing your interest right now, and you can wait till the day of the game, it's very possible that you can get in. So if you just go to that website, there's a search engine by the date or by the school that you can probably go in and find tickets. So want to make sure that whoever wants to get to the games, if we have space, that you can get there. The rest of the stuff on here, Mr. Bransoy and I did visit with Deb Ziller about the musical and the option of doing that in the spring. It came down to the mask mandate. We can't do it in masks. So Deb said if the mask mandate's going to be there, it's a non-starter. And both Dale and I looked at each other and said, yeah, there's going to be a mask mandate through the end of the school year as far as we can tell. So that was just not an option. We'll try to get back to that next fall. But there's info on the section tournaments. I'm not going to go through all that. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them to the best of my ability. And section placements are going to come out in about a week or two, and we'll know where we sit for sections over the next couple of years. So any questions?
I got a question.
Yes.
Okay, I had this, someone called me today and asked this question, so I'm just asking for them. They hold a season pass and they wanted to go online to watch the game, but they had to pay again online. How does that work?
We didn't give out any season passes this year.
Unless it's a senior citizen, and that's what they're thinking, it's a senior citizen.
Yeah.
Which never expires, but there wasn't any given out this year, otherwise you would have received one.
Yeah, even our board members, our coaches,
Correct.
everybody
No,
that usually gets them, since we're so limited on numbers,
Yeah.
we didn't give out this year.
Maybe they misunderstood that.
And Jamie's probably right. If it was somebody who's got the senior pass,
But
those they
that-
can keep year to
To
year.
watch online is a separate entity. Like that, you even if you have a season pass, you're paying for a subscription to watch online.
But some of these other schools don't even charge anything.
Correct.
They're
We've got
all
a
free.
few schools, but we can't afford to not charge you.
Okay, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah, it's just that simple. I mean, I would love to say everything's free all the time, but we'd get all kinds of kids out for sports if it didn't cost things too,
Right.
but that's just
Okay.
not.
And what does that cost per game?
$6. And we don't have separate for student and adult because we can't regulate that through the app at all. So it's $6 for everybody this year.
Your tickets.
For tickets, yes.
Tickets.
So for the subscription to watch
The
those.
streaming service is $11 a month if they want to watch it through the subscription, the streaming. And that's a calendar month, so you don't buy, if you bought tonight, it doesn't end at the end of February. It goes until the 22nd or 25th or wherever we're at of next month.
Right, I got one more question. I was
Okay.
kind of, after they asked me that, then I went online, just trying to check things out and look at it. And then I went to the community ed section. What have we been doing for anything for community ed? Like, I know a lot of these schools are doing like Zoom things on Zoom where you can go in and pay for it and have the class on Zoom, but it didn't look like we were doing much of anything.
We don't have much on there right now. We did some online things in the fall. We canceled them all. At this point, the appetite for things on Zoom is pretty minimal. There's a lot of people that they're doing enough on Zoom. It doesn't feel like they want to. We've done some youth things now that we've had people back in the building. We did get asked about allowing people to come in and walk in the mornings in the school. I talked to the principals and Dale about that, and I think everybody was in agreement that we're just not there yet. That just having unsupervised, not that adults need to be supervised, but having people we don't know walking around the school in the morning is not the best situation for us right now. So we should be getting some community ed stuff going for the spring. Stuff that we can do outside a little more. Hopefully summer rec will run as normal this year. We're getting to the point where we can start looking at that. It's just been, since fall, there's not been much options unless you put stuff online, and the stuff we tried to do in the fall, there wasn't much appetite for.
So how many wages or how many employees do we have pulling wages out of the community ed fund? Because I know it's a negative right now, so I'm trying to figure out where that comes from. So yours,
Britt and I would
Brittany?
both partially come out of there. Lindsay and Cassidy would come out of there, and all of the paras probably for ECFE. And that would be
is
about it.
Matt,
Matt would, but he's hourly, and that would only affect it in the summer.
okay,
And then all of his employees in the summer would be out of there as well.
okay. All right.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Plan. Moving on to school board committee reports. I do have one item, and if anybody has anything else, but last year, prior to COVID, we had talked about doing a board retreat. And we didn't ever seem to be able to put the dates together to do it, but I'm proposing that we do this year. I know everybody just wants more meetings. So a board retreat with MSBA, so it'd be Katie Conrad and Gary Lee. And we would be looking at either Thursday, March 25th or Monday, March 29th. It would be a 2-hour commitment. Katie and Gary will be on Zoom with us. We can be in person. I will send out an email because Brian and Melissa aren't here. I will send out an email if everybody can respond back to me with which date would work best.
What were those 2 dates again?
March 25th, it's a Thursday, or Monday, March 29th.
Jill,
Yes,
I don't know that it'll matter to anybody, but it's very likely that March 25th would be state wrestling
okay,
or Class A.
okay, so,
They're saying 25, 26, 27, they're gonna
Okay.
be one class each day.
that's right.
The vast odds are that Class A is gonna go in the middle of the week, and they're gonna let the bigger schools go later.
Okay,
So I don't know that that'll affect your decision, I just want you to know what's.
right, what's on the docket, okay.
What time of the day are you talking?
6 to 8 in the evening.
It would be awesome if we still had somebody wrestling between 6 and 8.
Yes,
That
yes,
would be-
okay. So just.
Well, March 29th from 6 to 8, you're talking?
Yeah.
Isn't that our school board meeting? Or is it
No,
gonna be the
that's the weekend
22nd?
before, the week before.
Okay.
March there, that would be your
That's the
5th
5th,
Monday.
yep. So I will send it out though, because Melissa and Brian aren't here. I will send it out to the board tomorrow to respond back with dates so we can get that set up. So, anybody else have anything under school board committee reports?
I do.
Okay.
I'd like to address, facilities since I'm on that. I checked in 2 days this week. Mr. Brand, so you happened not to be in the school at the time when I checked in at the office, but I did go and investigate with Danny the water problem down in that one basement area. And I have a question for you, Danny. Is that water still leaking from the internal wall? Is there water still coming out of that?
Just condensate.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd just be early in the morning or
okay.
late afternoon.
So more than likely it came from the water being up chest high, and so it's not actually pipes leaking
No.
internally.
No.
Okay, that's a good sign, because I talked to my husband about that, because he's in
Yeah.
drainage.
Yeah.
So he said to ask you that question.
Yeah, it's real sporadic, and generally morning time is about the only time it runs in there.
Okay,
Afternoon, maybe a little bit if the heater shuts off or turns back on.
okay. And then did we find out what caused the backflow? I mean, did we find a plug or a pluggage anywhere? Or
Float in the sump pump.
the flow in the
That's-
sump pump?
Yeah, they were both bad.
Okay,
so-
and then did we get the emergency light fixed then hooked
Not
up
yet,
so that it'll
no.
go
We're
off this next time?
Still trying to get some power down there yet.
Okay,
We tried to flip the breaker and it tripped right back off. So
okay.
we're not gonna
All right, so I would just.
We're gonna let it dry out first a little bit more and then we'll.
Okay, I did crawl down in that hole just in case anybody was wondering, and it was scary. It was very scary.
You were braver than I was, but I didn't crawl down.
When he showed me the electrical box and how much water was up on it and said that someone could have got electrocuted, it was very unnerving being down there. So, hopefully that all gets fixed like really fast. So that's immediate. That's another one of the facility things I think needs to be addressed immediately. Another thing I investigated also was one of the Title I rooms that were in an abandoned bathroom. And the one that particularly really made me nervous is the one on the south end here where the gym was built here, and just around the corner on the west wing, you walk in and it's like you have to walk like this little 6-foot corridor, then it's another little 6-foot corridor, and then there's a doorway, and then there's the Title I room stacked full of stuff, and there's absolutely no window in there at all. And it's tucked back in there, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I think that's kind of a fire hazard, because if there's a fire in the hallway, the teacher and that Title I student have no way out. There's no extra exit out. That room, I think we should address that and get those kids moved out of there immediately. I think that's in violation.
That's a quiet area for them. It's not the best by any stretch of the imagination.
But I would think that would be a fire hazard. There's no way out there. So my other one, there's another Title I spot that is going out by an emergency doorway and the west entrance, and they're setting up off the steps, off this landing, going right out by the emergency entrance there. And now there's like a little portable wall, but I would think that would be in violation too. You can't clog an end going out to an exit. So I think that should be out of there also. So I'm just bringing that to your attention. So those are two things I found. And I'm on the facility committee, so that's why I walked through. I thought it was my due diligence to do that, especially when you reported the water. So I thought, well, as long as I'm here, I'm gonna walk around. And then Danny did point out the roofs that needed repair. So that brings me up to the roof about the Bird Island gym roof, being we're using that. We have people in there, students and guests. And no matter what we do, if we end up building a building, even if it's 2, 3, 4 years on road, that's out of its maintenance schedule, and it should really get repaired. I think that's a must. So then it goes on. Another thing I found, and this was a little unnerving to me too, we happened to bump into one of the other custodians, and there's this grassy area. When they built this addition out here, there was like a grassy area in between the two corridors that go out. But there's only one emergency exit. There's a emergency fire door off I don't know what you call it, kitchen storage area. The reason I bring this up is because I was looking at it. He showed us out there's a lawnmower sitting out in the snow and a picnic table. And he said, no one is allowed to eat out there anymore because the fire marshal said that's dangerous. No one can get out of there. So then I got to thinking, those classrooms that are in that perimeter with their windows going into the grassy area, again, if there's a fire in the hallway, those kids have no safe exit because they're not supposed to go in that grassy area. There are no stairs to get up and out of there. So then, bear with me, please. I'm always thinking, and you're probably not going to like me for it, but so my thoughts are this. With that being said, and in our strategic planning, it says the bold school district will update and maintain facility support the overall character and confidence of the learners. And we have to have a sustainable environment. I think that one of the safest things we could do at this point is to temporarily look at reopening up the Bird Island campus, the elementary wing, and moving just K through 4 there temporarily, since we've got some scary stuff going here with fire. And being they've got the HVAC running over there, they've got the 2 stories sealed off, that's not being used anymore. We've got the west end with the gym running, heating. We can at least get kids over there that's safe. If we can't use the lunchroom, I got an idea for that. We have St. Mary's right across the street. We could work out a lunch program with them. The kids can cross the street. I'm just saying for the safety of the kids right now, with these violations or fire hazards that I see here, we have to do maintenance anyway, and this opens up more room for the rest of the kids in the school. We can have your 5 through 12 back in here again. That just kind of gives everybody a little more breathing room. Like I said, it could be a temporary fix until because we're gonna, look, we have to move forward. I get that, we definitely have to move forward with the buildings. But dollar wise, I think it's feasible. So I had to bring that up.
I just have one thing.
I have a question, because I'm on the facilities. Was this a meeting? Because, I mean, I
No,
think that's what this is for, was the school board committee's report. And I guess I didn't know of any meeting that was had.
It wasn't a meeting. I did it because I wanted to follow up after our meeting here. We talked about the flooding in that basement thing, and I wanted to go investigate that. So I did it on my own. I checked in at the office both days.
Well, right, I thought this was.
It wasn't, no, it's not a meeting.
That's fine. I just thought that's what this was for, is a school board committee report. So I was just.
Well, I put it here because I didn't know where else to put it. So I would put it, I didn't want to interrupt with Mr. Bransoy's area when he was discussing facilities, and I didn't want to interrupt Denny when he was giving ours at the work session. And I thought, this would be the best place then. I can add my 2 cents for.
I agree.
I was just curious because I wasn't sure.
I think Denny can respond to this too, but I think our fire marshal goes through every year and gives us all the things that we have to work on, and Denny does a good job of keeping that up. So the fire marshal issues, I think the fire marshal has approved the plan we have, so I don't know if that's an issue, but I think you got a lot of good ideas there and a lot of things that you brought to the table. And I think, that would be something good to sit down with Denny and myself, if you want me, and to bring those things together, because that's when you can problem solve all those things. But the fire marshal has inspected, and so he's approved our facility as is. And so I think that's what we go by as a district. And so I assure that that's a code that and they're in here every year, so.
Or even have a facilities committee meeting would be good.
Yeah, and
That would be.
well, so we need to do that, so that would be good.
Who sets up the facilities committees then? Or the meetings? Who sets up the meetings? Because I know we're on the committee, but I have no idea when those committee meetings are.
Well, what we have done in the past as needed, but now we're doing a lot with facilities right now, so I think that committee needs to get back and be functioning again, and it hasn't been. And there's some reasons for that, and I'm not gonna get in at this point, but I think that committee needs to get together and then sit down and Denny and kind of share these things. The last time Denny and I met with the facilities committee, we shared a lot of this same information. And I thank Denny for doing that. And my intent was there's a lot of things that needed to be done. And he presented it all, and it was all said and done, and we left and like nothing had been of a concern. And that's what really was a road mark for us, a road block for us. So, but I think what you're bringing on is good things. And so I think, that's a place to bring it, and we've got somebody that's interested in pursuing it more, so we'll do that, so, good.
I have a quick question. When you walk down some of these halls, some of the rooms, you can't see through them. You can't see in the door. They've got it blocked. Now, realistically, is that really good practice to have where you can't see through there?
They say safe not to have windows in it.
What's that?
They're not to have windows in it
Okay,
for safety.
like, those should be gone. So you might want to check that
See,
out.
that's the way things are.
What do you mean those should be gone?
So we'll get rid of the stuff on the windows.
No, what he's saying is
they're
it's supposed to be there.
Supposed to be covered.
Oh,
You're not supposed to be able to see them.
You're not, yeah. If you were gonna build something, you wouldn't have a window.
That's
Yeah.
something that is going to change over the time, but that's what they're recommending now. is not to have it so that you get an intruder in there and they can't,
Yeah, I think it's more for active shooter purpose, right? Like,
yeah.
so they don't see what's inside that room.
Is it just special rooms then?
No. Every room.
But when you got like an active shooter situation, a lot of the guys just go in there and all they want to do is stack bodies. That's why a lot of the papers over the windows, some people I think have put the shower, I don't know what you call it, it's almost like wallpaper over it. But because when you're in those rooms in an active shooter situation, basically you stack everything in front of the door and you go to the sides. And that, if it's covered, they don't hear you, they can't see you, they're not gonna start shooting into that room. That's why 99% of the windows in the doors are covered.
I was just thinking, liability reasons for, let's say you have a male student and a female teacher, or a female student and a male teacher in the room together, that could be a real liability for us.
We
If you
talk
couldn't
about that.
see through.
We talk about that with our teachers, and
Yeah.
it's never good to be.
Well, I'm not saying
one-on-one.
it's a possibility, and
And if they do have to be one-on-one, we just say, leave that door
right,
open.
open. Okay, so they do that, they leave it open.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, we move on to pool board report. Included in the packet, have you met?
No, we have a meeting in March.
Okay. So if you have any questions on pool committee report, pool report, Tracy's information is listed here and she would be happy to help you. All right, moving on to new business. Number 1 is approving the iPad policy, procedures, and information. Mr. Brandstoy, what are the, or either of the principals, what are the, what was added? What's the addition?
This one is, I don't think there's been any additions to it through last year.
Yeah, there have been.
There's been? Okay.
I don't
You were
know,
at the meeting and I wasn't.
I didn't know there was gonna be a test on it.
No.
Sorry. I just give us.
I'm trying to find
There's
that
anything
now.
big.
Yeah, so I know one of the big ones is we looked at, and I don't know, I can't quote it verbatim here, but one of the things we changed is the, how we handle breakages. In the past, it was you paid your $30 and then you could break your iPad as many times as you wanted. And so now we've revised that. We'll still have them pay the insurance, but if there's a second breakage, we're gonna have a meeting. And we're gonna look at, how are you treating this? How are you using this, and why is it breaking? I used to have it was an iPad that no longer worked, but the screen wasn't broken on it. I had it in the office and it was just sitting on the desk because we were gonna send it down to Neil. And this kid came in and iPad was just smashed, and he's like, oh, it slipped out of my hand. And so I took this, he didn't know it was a broken iPad to begin with. And I just tossed it in the air, it spun, landed on its side on the ground, and it was still fine. So when these kids are saying, oh, it was on the bus seat and then it fell. No. And the crease that's in the middle from your knee, that is not an iPad landing on the ground. So, all right, I got a little carried away there. But so we're looking at that. So it's going to be a meeting with the parent administrator, and and we may actually at that meeting decide, hey, you need to do some extra work before you're going to be allowed to take this home. Somebody was telling me over the weekend where they're at the mountain sledding here, and one of our kids was with her parents there, and they were sledding, and she had an iPad with her in the sled. Yeah, I know. And it was pointed out to the parent. The parent's like, oh, you tell her to leave it at home. Well, maybe you got to do more than just tell. Follow through on it. So that's one of the big additions. You were trying to show me something?
Page 8, it's in the iPad. Page 8's the notable changes from previous policy.
Okay. Anything that
Nope.
was the big one?
Yep.
Neil is the one that works with this and with his tech committee. And so this to be reviewed annually.
Yeah, we-
And so this is being reviewed for the coming school year. So that's why it's in front of you. All the policies we've got in front of you except for one, it's just an annual review. And
I have to
So-
apologize because I actually read this and I did read that page, but not actually read it. I did read it. So, all right.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll
Motion
second.
made by Boleen, seconded by Bookto. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing nothing, we will vote. So we'll begin with Jamie.
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Number 2, approve the Southwest West Central Service Cooperative Services Agreement for the 2020-2021 school year.
So move, Benson.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Benson, seconded by Bookto. Any questions on anything? Hearing nothing, we'll vote and we'll begin with Tracy.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Number 3, review and approve policy 413, harassment and violence. Enclosure number 3.
So moved, Bookto.
Second, Benson.
Motion's made by Bookto, seconded by Benson. Any questions about this or anything, anyone in reading it over, any questions anyone had? All right, hearing nothing, we will vote and begin with Tracy.
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Teresa,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Number 4 is the first reading of policy 414, mandated reporting of child neglect or physical abuse, physical or sexual abuse. This is a first reading.
this, we do not have this policy in place at the
Really?
current time. And so this is a first reading and we need to have, we'll have 3 readings for it. So it'll come in front of you 3 different times. Because you look at the dark italicized print there, there's just notes that affect the statute. That'll be removed, but I wanted to leave it there so you could see anything reference to statutes and so forth. But these policies are recommended by the School Board Association, which we belong members to, and so they go through them with the attorneys, make sure that everything fits the statute, and so this does. So it'll be the first reading, so take a look at it and we'll bring it back.
I'll make a motion. Bookto.
Oh, it's just first reading.
Oh, sorry.
Hold that thought till the next one.
All right.
They asked for an action.
Then put action.
I know, it's
Okay.
not. This is
All
the
right.
first reading. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Way to
does.
go beyond that.
Yeah, I know. Number 5,
Transformation.
review and approve policy 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. And so this is a current policy that we have to review yearly.
Yep, the annual review.
Annually. So I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion's made by Hanson, seconded by Benson. Any questions on anything in there? Hearing nothing, we will vote and begin with Jamie.
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Number 6, review and approve policy 506, student discipline.
So move, Boleen.
Motion is made by Boleen,
Second, Benson.
seconded by Benson. Any questions on policy 506? All right, hearing no questions, we will vote and we'll begin with Sandy.
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. Number 7, review and approve policy 524, internet acceptable use and safety policy. It's enclosure number 7.
So moved, Bookto.
Motion is made by Bookto,
Second, Boleen.
seconded by Boleen. Any questions on policy 524? All right, hearing nothing, we will vote and begin with Sandy.
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. Motion carries. All right, upcoming dates. March 22nd, 2021 is our regular meeting. We have also added March 1st as the continuation of our work session. That'll be 6 o'clock here. So we have March 1st, March 22nd. I can send an email out. And then possibly March 29th, if we want to go ahead with our MSBA board retreat. If we want to go ahead on that day, or if Derek kind of thought wrestling would be Wednesday, so we'll see there. But I'll send an email out with options for that. So and
possible a board meeting with BLHS. board.
yes, so we have some things going on, and we'll keep everybody
Could be a
apprised.
busy month
It could be a very busy
of
month.
board meetings.
Yes, so
Are you gonna look at doing a meeting with,
the
Yeah.
Citizens for
the
Progress.
citizens, yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
I know we talked about doing the board meeting with VLHS first,
Okay,
before we, before we start those. All right,
Can I mention something too? Just out of respect for people reaching out to us, please read over this stuff from GFW too, because they are reaching out and asking us to, just,
right,
I've had a conversation with the superintendent, but we've never had this one. So I'll give him a call too. And our business manager is in both buildings, so I have an in with that too. But I haven't contacted them. I've talked with RCW, and so Doug and I have had a conversation about it. He's kind of, no, just in time, not now, because they've gone through some construction things and they're working on some things of their own right now. So that's another one that you should take a look at.
all right. So with that, we will move on to adopt a resolution to acknowledge and accept gifts, grants, and bequests. And we have quite a few of them, which is pretty awesome. So I am going to make the motion, and then I will read through here the great list. So Member Hanson introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas, I'm going to do the ones that are on the addendum first, so I don't forget to do them. Whereas S.J. Jacobs and Sons, Inc. has generously offered to donate $500 toward the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas George Parr Agency, Inc. has generously offered to donate $100 towards the First Robotics team. Whereas Keith and Sarah McNamara have generously offered to donate $100 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Citizens Alliance Bank has generously offered to donate $300 for the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas K&S Electric Inc. has generously donated, they're donating $300 to the Bold First Robotics team. You need a shorter name.
I know, sorry,
Thank you.
I'm feeling really bad over here.
All right, whereas Dirk's Lem Funeral Services has generously donated $100 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas B&D Market has generously donated $100 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Daniel and Heidi Gross have generously donated $20 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Health Enhancement has generously donated $120 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Kraft Walzer Law Office has generously donated $50 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Johannes Agency has generously donated $100 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Rhode Island Enterprises LLC has generously donated $50 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas F&M Bank Minnesota has generously donated $500 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Olivia Pet Clinic PA has generously donated $50 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Olivia Appliance Inc. has generously donated $25 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Renville County Abstract has generously donated $50 towards the toward the Bold First Robotics team, whereas Sheehan's Gas Company has generously donated $100 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Cooperative has generously donated $500 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Renco Publishing Inc., Renville County Register, has generously donated $50 towards the Bold First Robotics team. Whereas Anonymous Donor has generously donated $4,000 for funds for curriculum for grades 5 through 12. Therefore, be it resolved by the Bold School Board to gratefully accept these gifts. The motion for the adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by member Benson. And upon a vote being taken thereon, the following voted in favor thereof. Teresa.
Aye.
Sandy.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Jamie.
Aye.
And I myself, I am an aye. And we thank all of these wonderful people for their very generous donations. Okay. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made by Pauline,
Second Benson.
seconded by Benson, and we will vote. Teresa,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
and I myself, I am an aye, and we are adjourned at 8:28. Thank you all very much for your time this evening.
I saw the